Hey Ryan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Ah,
Let me,
looking good.
thank you. I don't know if I feel that way, but it's okay.
How has business been?
I'll tell you, we're down about 80%.
Oh my gosh, no kidding.
Yep. So
Are you talking about the coffee shop, or you're talking about everything?
I'm talking about everything in total. So when the pandemic hit, we ended up losing out all of our weddings, all of our corporate events. We lost out on all of our kiosk events. So everything from the concerts to the festivals to all the events.
Oh
So
man,
um, everything cratered essentially. So what's keeping us afloat is the CARES Act.
the
We got
the
the
what?
PPP, the CARES Act.
CARES Act.
Yep.
Okay.
We got the PPP, and we got the governmental loan that you know basically I was
Oh
able to consolidate all my. Can you hear me?
wow, yeah, I can hear you. Is your coffee shop operating?
We have a kiosk set out right up front of the cafe.
Really?
So we have that going from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. every day, weather
Uh
dependent.
huh. Uh huh. Okay. Well, it's something.
Yeah, it's something.
Oh my gosh.
So
Well, boy, I hope it's over soon. This
yeah,
is a
you're not the
disaster.
only one.
Oh man, I guess so. Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing a study of students that start businesses while in college. What I find is I give a talk to freshmen every year, and it's a pretty big class, about 100 students, and there are two or three sections, so reaching a lot of students, and it's very interactive. And I talk to them about the idea of starting a business when they're in college, and it's uh, almost 100% have never even thought about it.
Really?
Uh, there are a few exceptions, and a lot of them join the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, and they get pumped up on the idea of starting a business um, from that exposure. But uh, for the most part, they haven't even thought about it.
Hmm.
And I wanted to maybe go back in your history, because I think it seemed to me that when you were in college, you wanted to have your own business, whether it was
Yeah.
making a coffee machine, or whether it was starting a coffee shop and expanding from there or whatever. But I think you wanted to have it,
Yeah.
and that's unusual. Did
I
you
didn't
have?
realize that.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was normal.
No, you're abnormal.
Guess I'm abnormal. Oh man.
uh, when you were a kid, did you have a lemonade stand, or did you sell apples, or mow lawns, shovel snow, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mowed lawns
Did
actually.
you?
I had a couple of, I guess, of accounts at that particular time. So
How old were you?
I bet I started when I was 12,
Uh huh.
maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. But I worked all the way up mowing lawns through when I graduated.
Really?
Yeah,
Where
so I
did you
did
grow
that.
up? Well, where was home?
Home was in Janesville,
Janesville.
so
Okay.
grew up in Janesville. Yeah, my dad was a principal there, and mom was a dietitian.
Uh
And
huh.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I had a paper route too. I
Yeah.
think that was important because that kept me on, I think, the time limit, where I had to deliver papers every day. So it was something I had to do, and it was something I was responsible for. So,
And you had to collect, I
and I had
think.
to collect. Yep.
Yeah. And some people didn't pay.
And some people didn't pay, but
Oh gosh. How did you do income wise? Did it help, or was it
oh yeah. I mean, it
labor of
was,
love?
um, I look back and I think it was pretty incredible because, for instance, people that I mowed lawns for, he was allergic to grass, so
Oh,
he didn't want to mow. He was an attorney
yeah.
in town, so every year I got a dollar raise, and I thought that was incredible.
Wow. That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, and I also did a lawn for. It was a rental property, I guess. The guy was trying to sell the home, and He had someone move in. In addition to that, it had a pool. So he was looking for someone to mow the lawn and maintain the pool.
Oh,
So
wow.
with that, I did that for a whole summer. I actually saved up enough money in order to go to London with my school.
Oh
So
my gosh,
uh,
great.
took
Wow,
a
fantastic.
trip overseas.
Did you have any relatives that were entrepreneurs or
My
any
uncle
close
was.
friends? Your uncle was.
Yeah.
What did he do?
He owned a boat company. It was
Uh-huh.
called Fiberdome. It was out of Lake Mills, and he
Uh-huh.
made Tuffy fishing boats.
Oh,
So,
okay.
from what I understand, he did that for about 12 years and then ended up going through the bankruptcy process,
Oh,
or just
geez.
about the bankruptcy process. He didn't
Yeah.
actually go bankrupt, but he sold the company for, 30 cents on the dollar, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's not unusual,
No.
I went through it myself, so
Hmm.
it's not pleasant.
No.
Did you ever work with him or did you talk with him much about it?
Uh, you know, not so much. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he's the know-it-all, has all
Yeah.
the answers, and
Yeah.
because of that, it really turned me off. I mean, it's
Oh,
not
huh.
someone that I wanted to engage a conversation with.
I'll be darned.
So, you know,
Well, it caught up with him. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, now were there any entrepreneurial activities in high school related to the school, like or in grade school, like DECA or Junior
Hmm.
Achievement or mini economies?
Yeah, you're making you're making me go back in my mind, but yeah,
I
there was
know.
DECA.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you take part in that?
I took part in that, and
Uh-huh.
I think I did very well. I remember going to state and ended up placing. I mean, at the time, I didn't really think anything of it, um, but I did very well because I could public speak pretty well, or better
Uh-huh.
than my peers.
Gosh, that's great. Did it help you in terms of your entrepreneurial uh, pursuits later on?
Um, I don't contribute that to it in particular. One thing I did do growing up that I look back at and think like, wow, that was really impactful was um, I did water skiing on a water ski show team, and
No kidding.
it was a team called the Rock Aqua Jays, and the Rock Aqua Jays are national champions for water
Wow.
skiing.
No
So
kidding.
they have an incredible team. They have a dedicated team. I mean, everyone on it is there to compete. And we
Wow.
put together a water ski show team that is quite simply the best.
Wow. And
So
did you water ski then with them?
yep, I
No
water
kidding.
skied with them. So I think learning about, you know, it was almost like there was I don't even know how to describe it. There was a standard of completing the act. So
Uh-huh.
if you, like, for instance, I was in what was called the barefoot line. So we had about 20 guys barefooting across the show course,
My
and
gosh.
you made your act. I mean, it was just like you're going to make your act. I mean,
Huh.
that's what you need to do, and you need to go through the show course. I don't care if you're hanging on by your hair, but you just need to make it through. So I think, looking back, I think that taught me more about kind of being part of a team, developing something, and then, essentially competing and showing that. I think the competitions that we did very well in. So
Wow. Well, how old were you and what stage in life was this when you did this? How many years?
I started in sixth grade, and then I skied
Sixth
all the way
grade.
through when I was a senior. So
In high school.
in high school. Yep,
Wow, 6 years.
6
Wow,
years.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Did you make money?
No, it was an amateur show ski team, so
No kidding.
no one was paid.
I'll be
It
darned.
was all volunteer.
Yeah,
They were set up as a nonprofit organization, and I mean,
sure enough, no cash was
no cash. I mean, all of it was
Wow.
from donations from the audience. So
Wow.
at halftime, we'd go out and we'd basically collect from them. So
Huh. Well, isn't that something? Boy, that's amazing. That is really amazing. When you were working with DECA, did you have a particular project or a business that you did, or was it just a matter of learning about
I don't even remember. I don't
it?
don't remember. Um,
Wow. Now I
All
have
I
an
remember-
excuse now. You don't have an excuse.
right?
Oh, man. Well, you went to state though. That was good.
Yeah, I went to state, and I think I won or I placed, first, second, or third.
Wow. Fantastic. Well, so you went off to UWM.
Went to
Um,
UWM. Yeah.
Did you have an entrepreneurial activity while you were in school?
No, not at that time, because when I went to school, I ended up working for Altera at the time,
Uh-huh.
and I spent 2 years working for them.
Uh-huh.
And then I started getting to my major, which is human resource management, and I ended up getting some internships with that.
Uh-huh.
I guess one in particular was a company called Epic Recruiting Solutions. Epic Recruiting Solutions, and we did. We hired salespeople for like 13 offices. So they had offices on the Eastern Seaboard, and we were basically tasked with getting the resumes in from job fairs, and we had a sourcing manager that found the resumes from school, etc. And we called those people and actually interviewed them for these jobs. So the company was called, the company that we hired, so the company that I worked for was Epic Recruiting Solutions. The company that we were hiring for was Atlantic Technologies, which was a subsidiary of Lucent Technologies. So part of that Baby Bell system. So these people that we were hiring were people that were to sell phone systems into companies.
I see. How long did you work for them?
A little over a year. And then
Uh-huh.
they ended up closing down the Milwaukee office.
I see. Okay. Well, when you were at UWM, you obviously took the entrepreneurship course, and did you enter any competitions at UWM?
No, at the time, the CEO organization was just starting,
Uh-huh.
and I might have missed it even by a year. And so, like I said, entrepreneurship always interests me. And I took a class because I thought it would be the key for starting a business.
Uh-huh.
Kind of learning what it would take in order to start a business. So, I was excited to write a business plan because I thought it would be this like magical thing.
Yeah, you write the plan, there you go, right?
Yeah. So,
well, after you graduated, you went into HR.
I did. So I was an HR generalist for Eaton Corporation, right out on 30th and Capitol.
Right.
And
I remember your story. That you. How long were you with them?
I was with them for about 18 months.
18 months.
A little less than 2 years, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I was an HR generalist, so I did everything from hiring to working with the union, writing employee manuals, whatever needed to be done in the HR department. So it turned out that our company ended up getting sold to a company called DRS Technologies. And during that time is when I ended up losing my job. They basically said, we don't want you. So they cut me out. And that's when
typically what happens.
Yep.
What'd you do next?
So then that's when I went to the HR outsourcing agency, which was called Wright Management Consultants. And Wright ended up getting bought out by Manpower. But we had worked with them when we went through a big plant layoff. And so I knew the people there. And they said, hey, Ryan, why don't you come, take this course, be a part of it. It'll give you a place to land, a place to, work from, something to do to keep you occupied. And while taking while thinking about that and taking their course, I realized I didn't want to do HR. What I wanted to do was start a business. So I kind of structured my thoughts around that. And the next position I ended up getting was a contract position for 6 months. And then after that contract position is when I started the business.
Okay. And what led you to that was really probably a background from the time you were little,
Yeah.
junior high, I suppose. And it apparently was always in the back of your mind, I guess.
Right.
Um,
So I think it was a decision, it was like, you can do this. Um, Now's the time to do it. I mean, you hear everyone saying, oh, I can't start a company because I'm too old, or, I have too many responsibilities. I have kids, I have, the mortgage. I can't start a business now. And I think at the time I thought, well, everyone talks about that. I don't have a mortgage, I don't have a home. I have pretty minimal debt. So now would be the time to do it.
mhm. What satisfaction do you get out of being an entrepreneur?
I think for me, it's figuring out the business problems. Um, Probably one of the biggest um, sources of satisfaction for me was when I became profitable, because to a certain point there was um, you've got a customer base, you've got a location, you've got everything in place to do the work, and it's just something's not working, and it's like I call it a hole. And it's like trying to lift a big water balloon over your head, where you can lift part of it up and then the other part kind of like rolls down to the other side. And it's like, it felt like I wasn't completely focusing on the totality of the business. And once I started putting essentially what was this spreadsheet together, which ultimately became the business plan, I realized like, oh, this is what I need to do in order to become profitable. And I think it was the combination of finding the information, organizing the information, and actually working a system in order to get profitable. So that became very, very satisfying to me.
I bet it was. Now that you've made that time and cross that chasm, that they're in the trade, it's called crossing the chasm, and you did that.
Chasm. All right.
Chasm, yeah. Um, what other things have given you satisfaction?
A lot of my employees have, actually, like seeing them grow and develop. And I mean, to a certain degree, I'm hiring college students, and college students look at this as a part-time job. So they obviously don't have the investment into it that I do. They're looking more for a paycheck standpoint. And when I see people grow and evolve into the position and become really good at it, and use this position in order to kind of leverage what they're doing in their studies, I mean, that's really satisfying to see.
Mm-hmm.
I had a girl that was in communications. I don't think she was a journalism major, but in the School of Communications. And I said, hey, do you want to manage the social media accounts? And then once she kind of took hold of that, I mean, she realized, I think she developed the voice of roast. And then on top of that, she used it for her classes. And I think she found a greater sense of just purpose while working at the shop and seeing how all the pieces fit together. And you can see at that particular point, the job became easier for her. It became more fun. She was making more money. So, I mean, beyond that, I mean, it was just like an explosion, She became ecstatic, she became a superstar, essentially.
Gosh, that's great. Well, I can see the satisfaction watching people flower.
Yeah.
And she did. That's great. Did you have a mentor or mentors along the way?
I had what I would call informal mentors. I had, there's a neighbor who lives up the street, and
See the guy that helped with the
Yep.
with the pre-strap?
Yep.
Yep.
So well, actually, no, he was a different person. So the
Who
neighbor
was?
up the street was a wedding photographer. So he was in the wedding business, and he was the one that helped me, I think, spring into that environment. So that's where we started setting up espresso bars at weddings and events and that type of thing. So just working with him and talking with him, I think helped me out. There's another guy who comes in here who actually is a retired consultant. He's got 5 kids, all of them are grown, and I think he's bored, but he comes here and this gives him, I think, an anchor for his day. And, you know, he's always up for advice, and the advice that he gives, I think, is pretty spot on because of his background. He owned a consulting company that did very well. And so, I mean, without Robert helps out quite a bit, you know, in more ways than I can imagine. And I guess also,
go ahead.
Also, I mean, with the grease trap, just having the people in the neighborhood that you can ask questions for. I mean, this guy in particular was an architect, and I said, you know, Gerard, this is what they're asking for the grease trap. I don't know, you know, what it is, but does this make any sense? And, you know, he walked me through it and said, yeah, you know, this is the steps. This is what you need to do. This is where it's going, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So from a architectural standpoint, he was able to, you know, walk me through the process.
He knew it was needed, and
Yeah.
he knew he didn't have any money, and so
Right.
he was able to help.
That's right.
If you hadn't had these guys, there you've mentioned 3 of them, would it have made a whole big difference in your business?
I would say so. I mean, they helped, I think, discover new lines of business or just a different potential that, you know, I was, I guess, you know, limited to in my mind. You know, I didn't know these things were out there. So, you know, Pat, the wedding photographer up the street in particular, I mean, to say events is a huge business, you should try to get into them doing espresso bars. So,
Wow, great. Yeah. What's next?
what's next? You know, I'm trying to get through the pandemic right now.
Yeah, I know this is a bad time to even ask the question,
So, you know, I've got some thoughts bouncing around my mind. Like, for one, the kiosk what helped us get through the pandemic right now, or to actually have some sort of income, is the kiosk. And, you know, the kiosk business model is 100% set up for this curbside pickup.
Yep.
So, I mean, we've got the equipment to do it. We've got the know-how to do it. We've got the stand to do it. You know, we're experts in this.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there's, you know, certain things that came out of this, like, for instance, for our menu, we always do dollar increments, and we don't do any change, because the way I thought about it was change slowed us down. And if you've got a line of people, you don't want to be digging 75 cents change. So
Right.
we made everything dollar increments. And during this pandemic, there's a change shortage. So, you know, it almost made sense. It's kind of like we are doing the right things, and I know we're doing the right things. So,
Great.
you know, I think about the kiosk because I think it's a business that can be grown. I think it's a business that definitely has its place. So, you know, you think about all the festivals, all the events, all the concerts and everything else that happen. And this is the perfect little thing to serve coffee out of, and no one's doing that. So, you know, I guess what I'm thinking is, like, how do you franchise this? You know, can you, can you do a roast franchisable kiosk?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you know,
Sounds good.
it's a nugget, I'd say, you know.
Yeah, sounds good. Are you profitable without the PPP?
I would be struggling right now.
Yeah.
So I really would.
It's going to run out pretty soon, right?
It is. So, you know, there's 2 things, like the Paycheck Protection was a big help. So it put money in the bank. And I think the the CARES Act with the loan really helped out a lot, because they basically give you a 30-year term at like 3% interest, and
Yep.
you don't have to pay it back for a year.
Yeah.
So
Boy.
we actually went into the pandemic in a pretty good position financially. So that way, this offered the financial support, I think, for us to wait it out.
Yep. Well, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard to see it right now,
Yeah,
but it seems that they're getting close on some cures and getting close on vaccinations.
right,
So hopefully by the end of the year, it's going to be something different. Maybe not
Right.
like it was, but something different than now. Hope so.
right.
Well, do you have any advice for new students at UWM? Should
Whew.
they consider, should they consider starting a business when they're in college?
I think you should absolutely consider starting a business in college.
Uh-huh.
You know, I think there's one guy in your class who came up to me and said, I want to start a coffee shop. And I'm like, great, what kind of experience do you have? And he said, none. He said, you know what you need to do is just go out and work at Starbucks. Figure out the Starbucks model, what they do, how they train, making drinks, etc., and start there. And, you know, a couple of months later, he ended up coming back and said, Ryan, I've got a job at Starbucks.
Ha, no kidding.
You know, he was one of the first people that I think maybe heeded the advice in order to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
That was really good advice. A lot of people want to do something they've never done before.
Right.
So this is good, really good.
So I can't imagine. I mean, a lot of people have the idea of doing something, and you know, they kind of wrap the mystique or the sexiness, or I mean, whatever you want to call it. They've got just a dream of doing this. So wouldn't it be great to own a business? And then that way I can have passive income coming in, and you know, I don't have to do anything, and everyone else can do it. And it's just kind of like,
Right.
dream, you know? That's not grounded in any sort of reality.
Right.
So, you know, I'm working with one of my current employees, because he's got this idea that he's going to sell mushrooms. And I'm like, Dominic, where's the market for this? I'm like, there's no restaurants out there that will buy this. Secondly, you're not even licensed in order to sell them to a restaurant. So, you know, what are you actually doing here? You know? So it's kind of talking him off that cliff to be like,
Well,
you know,
if he went and worked for a mushroom farm, maybe he'd figure it out.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, he doesn't want to do that. And I think it's just
Oh man, that's
a dream of having something of his own. So
yeah. Well, maybe
So
he'll make a few mistakes and then find something. Who knows?
right.
I certainly made plenty.
So I think we
Well-
all do. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, but I think it's you know, when you make the mistakes, you actually have to still wake up and continue going. I mean, you can't stop and, you know, just roll over and pass out or die from it. You have to keep
No,
on
I
moving.
just right, start over again. Were there any programs that helped you get started, either in college or in the local community, that helped you, that entrepreneurs could look to help them get going?
There is one at UWM, and what I remember, I went to visit it one time, and it was a collection of retired executives, but it was funded by UWM, and their
Was
office,
it downtown, not at the campus, but downtown?
Yep, their offices were located in the Grand Avenue Mall.
Right, it was
second floor.
UWM Extension, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't remember how I connected or hooked up with them, but they weren't, you know, the thing is, they're not able to advertise, so you don't know about them.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I don't even know if the program's still in existence or not, but, you know, he gave me a sheet of paper for marketing that helped me. So
Was it just a one-time visit, or did you go back?
it was a one-time visit. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I mean,
That's
it was
amazing.
He was, I don't know if it was that helpful at the particular time. I wanted to go check it out, see what was going on. I didn't have, I had the business already, so it wasn't as if I was starting off the business. But I had questions about marketing, and he gave me a single sheet of how to basically market that was helpful.
Mm-hmm. Great. Were there any other things at UWM or even in the community at the time you were doing it that helped you?
I think like the CEO organization, when I went to that, that's an incredible resource, because I think it's the students getting together that are like-minded, that are looking to do, to start businesses. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
with student organizations, you always have that excitement of being part of the organization, but you have one or two students that actually want to start the business.
Uh-huh.
So I remember that kind of becoming frustrating to me, is that everyone else kind of wanted to dabble, but I wanted to do it.
Want to really do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's, looking back, I think that's part of it, or you need to be a part of that organization in order to leapfrog to something else.
Well, great. Gosh, this is really helpful. I don't know whether it's an uphill battle, but I'm trying to gather data that'll help students to figure out, yep, this is an alternative. I don't just get my degree, go to have interviews and work for a big company.
Right.
There's more to life.
Right.
It may be some of it very unpleasant, but there's some pleasant parts to it that I think overshadow the unpleasant ones.
Sure. There's a poster out there that of a iceberg, and it shows the tip of the iceberg, which is the success part. And I think that's what a lot of people see. Like, oh my God, Jim, you started a company, you sold it, whatever,
Nothing
all
to
the
it.
success. Yeah. And then you've got all this money and everything else. And it's just kind of like the bottom of the iceberg, the 90% of the work, the determination, the upset, the struggle, the stress, everything that it takes in order to start a business, people don't see. They only see the successful part. And when I do these Harley rallies, and when I set up the coffee kiosk at these, there's a guy, a lot of them wear their Harley vests.
Yep.
And one of the guys had a patch on it, and it said, "The guy at the top of the mountain didn't just fall there." And I'm like, that's the best thing. Like, where did you, and it took me 2 years in order to find that patch. But when I found that patch, it was like, this is it. I mean, it takes all the work, the determination. And I guess what I'm seeing is that it's the work involved in order to get to the successful point that is the rewarding part for me. And money becomes the secondary part of the whole thing. It's all the work that you put into it, and the reward is the money aspect. So
well, great. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, I wanted to get some pictures of your business activity and some with you in it, high res, if you could send me a few.
Sure. I can see what I have.
You can just attach them to an email and send them. That'd be great.
Cool.
Well, Ryan, I really appreciate it. Your background is very interesting, and I think there probably are students that maybe had some similar activities. Certainly not the water ski, probably, but the other stuff. And they may have just tucked it away and never thought that was really some help in my foundation as I figure out my career.
Right.
I think it helped you with yours. You knew something about business before you did it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did. And I learned a lot along the way too. So
I'm sure. Well, great. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I may tap you again, but I think this is the nugget that I was looking for. And I really appreciate your taking the time.
Yep.
Good luck, and hope things even out and you get back up going and doing your kiosks and your other stuff real soon.
Definitely. Well,
Good.
it's working. So
Yep,
working for the time being, we're doing the best we can. So
you bet, you bet.
cool.
Well, thanks again.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.